Oh boy. Hello my lovelies. Welcome back to Ritfinch. Today we are going to make some art. There we go. Perfect.
Hello my lovelies, it's time for some more speed draws and me rambling. Today is somewhat of a therapy session for me. This was incredibly cathartic. The rise in AI generated images, and I do my best to not call it art whenever I can, has been a hot topic of discussion for a while. Right off the bat, I think it will come as no surprise that I completely reject AI generated content as being art, and more so that those putting in the prompts are artists. Quote-unquote creative AIs for writing and image generation are trained off of countless thousands of people's work without their consent. These people, including myself and statistically a number of you watching right now, will never be compensated for our work, will never be credited. I don't know how anyone can really justify that. In addition, I also just find it such a shame. Being able to be creative, to express yourself through poetry, painting, dance, singing, or any other form of artistic expression is such a gift, such a profound part of the human experience, with a barrier for entry that is almost non-existent in many cases. It seems so sad that technology is rapidly progressing to replace the very thing we should be making more time for, and paradoxically devaluing creativity by making it something that must be valued and have time saved on. Anyone with an artistic eye can see how cheap, samey and boring a lot of AI-generated content is. The bigger issues are higher-up execs who do not care about artistic merit or fidelity. Good enough is the name of the game. But you and I deserve better than good enough. If you know me by now, you know I'm a big lover of reference images, and Pinterest of late has been flooded with AI slop. What's the point of zooming in on something labelled a reference image in order to reference it, only to find out it's got dream logic fused parts that don't make any sense? D&D art in particular is rife. The other day, while researching a personal project, seeing these generic AI-generated images of a Triton made a very nerdy, primal part of me kind of snap a little bit. So I vowed to redesign one of them for myself. I wanted to keep elements of the original AI-generated image, if anything to better highlight how a redesign with the human touch can add a different element, perhaps some more dynamism, and something outside of the more generic AI content. Immediate issues that stood out to me included the hair, which the AI may have been attempting to render like a wave but came out messy and ill-defined. In general, the design is very lacking. The AI appears to have tried for more of an Aquaman look, with what appears to be his skin, given there's a visible belly button, transforming a bit oddly into a collared suit. Another issue I found pretty quickly when doing an initial sketch over the piece for my study is that the proportions felt off. His body was at a much more dramatic angle than his forward-facing head and neck, and the longer I sketched, the more I realised how huge the neck and head were compared to the rest of the body. You can see me very quickly kind of just pivoting to kind of drawing my own thing that vaguely aligns with the work, especially in the shoulder area. Like most AI images, the longer you look, the more odd details you see. A lot of AI images tend to pass what I call the across-the-room test. This can be great for not being too precious with your art, to be fair. You'll notice, though, I try to minimise it for speed draws where I can, that I frequently zoom out on my canvas. When you get hung up in fine details, be it anything from painting a Warhammer figurine to a digital painting, you can lose sight of the composition of your piece as a whole. The problem with AI is that it's not actually producing good references, it's just passing this across-the-room test. May be okay for inspiration here and there, but at that point I would refer you to my initial introduction that AI art is trained on countless artists' stolen art, and so is kind of just inherently immoral. In terms of my take on a Triton, D&D have had wildly different designs for Tritons throughout various editions, from traditional-looking mermaids to rabid fish people, but for mine I drew inspiration from good old 5th edition. Another point of inspiration was Tony DeSalisi's illustrations of mermaids from the Spiderwick Chronicles. I absolutely adore any mermaid designs that incorporate more unique fish-like qualities, ones that make them feel more suited to their environment and distinctly non-human. You can see me at some point experimenting with a lot of head frill options for this guy. I eventually didn't go with any of them, which is a personal shame, but I didn't want this to take too long, and I just couldn't seem to get it to work this time around. Perhaps I'll revisit this in the future and make some fun additions. AI art tends to lean towards white, elfin, lithe individuals. There's entire essays documenting how AI portraits of celebrities frequently slim them down and render them paler. While there's nothing inherently wrong with having sexy or conventionally attractive characters, I get it, I love drawing beautiful people of all different kinds, AI art tends to push one specific body type or standard. Now, I know it's a bit odd to perhaps be putting fictional races like a Triton in that category, in that kind of discussion, but it's more to illuminate my point on how generic and standardized a lot of this art can be. Half of the fun with things like this, and fantasy in general, is getting to explore the unusual and bizarre. In terms of sticking to the original work, I also wanted to retain the general abs and physique, some of the golden highlights and clothing, and some of the dramatic lighting. The lighting in particular was a lot of fun for me. I really just like drawing shiny things, so this gave me a great excuse to make things all sparkly and vibrant, which you all know is a bit of a staple of mine. I got inspiration from a more defined fantasy-esque belt design, which I felt was way more Atlantean feeling, and went back in to add tasteful scales. The implication was meant to be that he has thicker scales around his lower body, almost like pseudo-underwear, but I feel like maybe this could have been a little clearer if I'd spent time drawing more, well, like scale-shaped scales instead of just brush dabs. I had a lot of fun turning some of the original image's unusual gold leaf scale things into scales with a golden accent, and adding fun touches of gold across his design in general, including a fun seashell-shaped earring, try saying that 3 times, that I added just for me, on a whim. And I suppose that's the thing, AI images generally lack that human touch. There's something about ad hoc decisions, trying things out, testing them on the fly, maybe even coming back to a piece and tweaking it again. Adding new themes or accessories maybe, allowing your art to evolve with you and your sensibilities. Maybe I could come back and make him a grizzled victim of illegal hunters, with an eye patch and scars to match. Or make him more animalistic or ethereal. For example, could an AI have what they think is a really good idea for a sash made from a fishing net? Then the AI tries it out and records themselves struggling with the net sash, realizes it looked better without the net sash, but then keep it in the video anyway out of spite, even though they know full well it won't be in the final image? I didn't think so. Checkmate, AI bros. And there we go, my darlings, a little moment of catharsis for me, a little self-indulgent, but hopefully also cathartic for you too. I wanted to do something fun, quick, and as I said, indulgent, but also draw a pretty fantasy creature, so this definitely scratched a lot of urges for me. Thinking of beautiful, pretty fantasy creatures, the beautiful people you can see on screen right now are my Patreon supporters, who I would fight 1,000 weird AI tritons for. Their support helps me keep the channel going and for me to keep doing what I do, so thank you so much. If you fancy joining them, you can have your name in the credits, access to behind the scenes content, and high quality uploads of images from my videos, and it also means an awful lot to me too, so there's that. What are your thoughts? Are you having similar issues with sites like Pinterest and their AI content? Have you been inspired to redraw some art for yourself? This is a topic close to my heart, so I'd love to hear all of your thoughts below if you have the time. And speaking of time, my dear friends, I will hopefully see all of you next time.